Three, two, one. You're listening to Two Babies in a Business, a podcast about business marketing, growth strategy, staff, clients, babies, and marriage. I'm Christina. This is Peter, and we're founders and leaders of CIPR Communications.
Hey, Christina, how are you today?
I'm good.
Oh, good. I'm excited. We're starting a new series today on a topic that it kind of came up as a result, I think, of a poll that we did of some of our target audience. And it was a question we asked about hiring in-house for your marketing and communications versus hiring an agency. Maybe I'll just kind of start things off with, what we heard when we asked people about that question. What we did is we asked a question about, what are the barriers, or what are your kind of considerations when deciding whether to hire in-house versus, bring in staff. And we gave people a sort of a list of different things to choose. And it was pretty much, I would say, 100% of people responded by choosing one of the two answers out of the list of, say, 10, which was number one was scared to make a wrong decision, or scared to hire, a wrong decision. And then number two was, afraid that they wouldn't be able to sort of get buy-in from their team on their decision. So a lot of fear, I guess, is kind of what I got out of that. And really, oh, look, our dog's there. We're watching on video. Our dog just joined us.
Our dog, he also has things to say about an agency. Good boy, Max. Go ahead.
Yeah, anyway, so those are the kind of, literally, we give people a list of 10 things to choose from in terms of, this kind of decision. And those are the two things that everybody chose. So certainly, I wonder if people got burnt in the past, and that is sort of maybe what led to some of this fear, or if people just kind of didn't necessarily have a robust internal process to talk to staff to understand needs and those types of things prior to making a decision.
Yeah. For me, this is like a topic that comes up again and again. I mean, with many of our clients, obviously we work with a team. I think that's kind of the commonplace. You have at least one person that's looking after marketing and communications in some way, shape, or form. But for me, this really kind of solidified. It would have been, I think, a few months ago, and we had I would call it a casual client that had asked for my opinion on a job description that they had written for a marketing advisor. So not a manager level, but someone to kind of come in, report to them directly, kind of report directly to the boss. Boss didn't have any marketing experience. And, that job description was like, I think things you would typically think about in a junior role, and it was a junior role he was hiring for. He didn't have a big budget. So social, creating content, website edits, things,
event planning, management, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And you keep reading this job description, and all of a sudden it's like marketing strategy, photography, graphic design, to your point, like manage events and, newsletter, like this thing just kept going and going. And one, I think what it showed me is just kind of the need, I think, in certain industries right now, especially where you need someone, or you think you need someone that has this really broad skill set. And you probably do need all those skills, but you're not necessarily thinking about either implementing a team or implementing an agency. And I had to tell this guy, like, great job description. I was being a little bit cheeky, but my email back to him was like, if you find this individual and
I'll hire them.
multiple people apply, could you pass the runners up over to me? Because like this person doesn't exist. And
yeah, unicorn, right?
Yeah. And I just think that, like, I'm looking forward to kind of diving into this topic with you, because I think there's some unfair standards set when you throw a term like marketing advisor or marketing manager or graphic designer or creative, whatever, you just start to think about, oh, like then they can do all of these things. Right. And I even think about myself in my role. Like, yes, I'm a communicator by background. That's my kind of where I cut my teeth the most of my career. But there are things about communications that are not my strong suit, that I don't do well, that I don't have the knowledge on. And that's why I have a team around me, or why, I lean on you for certain things. Or like, I think that people often,
or we also hire consultants,
yeah,
an agency. Like, we also get help from third parties. We don't do everything. We don't actually do most things in house in our agency because if somebody else is handling it, then we project manage it, and they're experts in what they do, and that's all they do all day. And it just doesn't make sense. We'd have a team of 30 to have to handle everything, and they'd be doing work for us all the time, right? So
yeah, I think it's that just like take a breath. I'm sure we'll cover this, but it's just that, like, for me, and I've dealt with this a few times actually in the past few months, where clients have thrown me job descriptions and have created a unicorn job description, and that question of like, what do you think marketing is? There was an interesting marketing and sales job description thrown at me from one of our tourism clients. And, this individual was going to need to do marketing strategy, but also develop relationships and deal with a sales funnel, and very robust job. This person will never be bored. But again, it's that, like, who are you trying to hire and who are you trying to find? And, I think that whether you've made a choice of, I'm going to hire an agency, or I'm going to hire someone new, or I'm going to build a team, you need to be setting your business up for success, and hiring the right complement, I think, is important to that. And I even think about like hiring the right agency, because some agencies are like us, strategy first, full service. You're dealing with some pretty senior level experienced individuals. And then I think of, other agencies or one individual freelancing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe you have this really great skill set on your team, but back to the first job description I was talking about, where it's like he wanted a photographer and a this and a graphic designer. It's like, well, maybe you just need like a contractor or videographer that you call when you need it, or a graphic designer that you can throw stuff at. And I think that, it becomes easy to make a laundry list, and I just see more and more laundry lists that are just setting people up for failure, in my opinion.
Well, and I would just say a couple of things. So I get approached often by people saying, we tried this in-house and we weren't successful, and or it just was always on the back of our desks and we could never get to it. It sort of became always the last priority. And so, like, we realized that if we don't bring in, additional help, we'll never get it done. So that's kind of number one that I hear from people. And I always ask myself, like from an opportunity cost perspective, where would you be today if you would have brought in the right resources 6 months ago and not had this just kind of bouncing around and not making it successful for you, right? And how much could that person that you had kind of doing this on the side of their desk could have added value for your business had they been 100% focused on the relationship building or on whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, there's a huge opportunity cost, so I understand that kind of scared to make the wrong decision piece, because there's a huge cost to not doing it. I mean, I'll, as a business owner, I'll say, when you make a mistake in business, it's at least a quarter to fix that mistake, or 6 months, right? It's painful. Yeah. And it takes a quarter to hire a person in it, right? It takes time, business takes time, and these things don't kind of happen overnight, right? And, number two is I really think you need to think about, we've said this many times on this podcast before, but marketing as an investment. Yeah. And if you consider it as an investment, then you're not sort of thinking about, oh, how can I just minimize my expenses with regards to this and have John do this and Betty do this. And now you have 8 people doing this on the side of their desks and nobody's achieving anything. And it's not successful, right? So, I mean, this is a loaded topic. There's lots to it. And we're going to get into a whole bunch of different kind of topics, obviously, through the podcast, but we really got to think. This is one of those things where you really got to think strategically from a business goals perspective, and really think about your business and think about the business of the cost of making the wrong decisions, but try to quantify that and not make it a fear-based conversation. And you know what, I mean, we're a strategy first agency. And I think what maybe is a good investment is hire an agency to kind of help you with a strategy first. So we do a digital marketing blueprint for a client, for example, or a full marketing strategy and communication strategy. And then the second thing we do after we've done the blueprint is we do a tactical plan. And during that tactical plan process, we literally say, okay, we can take this work on, your in-house people could take this work on. That's a really robust process to think through this. And so I would actually say start there.
Yeah.
And then you're making an informed decision based on data and information and goals and metrics and what you want to achieve, as opposed to just, I think we need social media because our competitor is doing social media. I mean, we've had this conversation, I feel like, many times in this podcast, but it's like, until you know where you're going, how do you know what you're going to need to get there? Right.
Yeah. I feel like it, part of that marketing strategy conversation we had is like, okay, and now resource it at the end. But I think from like a personal experience, like you and I, when we worked corporately, have dealt with agencies all the time. But I even think about like our own team and how CIPR has evolved even just in the last 2 years. So, if you've worked with us for any period of time, especially kind of over 2 years, you'll know that we used to offer creative, and we were creative communications and marketing. And creative is a really competitive space. And, it was feel like when you're starting out in any business, no matter your lateral, you just say yes to everything, right? Like you find a way to do it, you hustle, you get it done, and you keep going. And then there comes this, maturity and reflection of, okay, to your point, you get to know your numbers. Mm-hmm. Okay, where am I making the most money? What can I shift from a resourcing perspective? How am I building a sustainable business? And, I loved the night you came in. I feel like it was like a weekend evening, and how we had, both had some drinks and I went to sleep, but you kind of stayed up pondering the state of the world. And
as I do many Saturdays.
As you do, that's where you can be found.
A reflective time.
A reflective time. It's a time. And you came in and you said, I found these like notes that I had written on the wall of the garage from years ago. And it was a time when we were in some deep reflection about this part of our business. And you said, never anywhere did I vision for us to have creative. And it was a very interesting conversation for us. And at that point, from a hiring, because we have to have those same conversations. Are we hiring in-house and other staff, or are we subcontracting? Is there a WSI supplier? And so at that point it was, okay, let's think about this. Let's take stock. Let's run the numbers. And now we work and are supported by amazing creative individuals. A shout out to Andrea Budd from A Little Creative, who's an absolute rock star and pulls things out of, I have no idea where, and for our clients, but that partnership made sense. And for us, it no longer made sense to have someone internal.
Yeah.
Flip the switch. What were we focused on internally at the time was really growing our digital marketing. And so, Q Marjana, who has been able to come in, and it made sense for us to have that amazing PPC and SEO skill set in-house. Yeah. So, when you run the numbers and you think about your business goals and strategy, that decision was easy for us. And I think, I hope that gives listeners something to think about, that like, even as an agency, we are a business and we have those same conversations internally that you are.
Yeah. And my final point on this, just to wrap it up, is I would say put your ego aside. Everybody wants to have lots of staff and a big team and all this kind of stuff. And it's, we were there. And honestly, like on this creative conversation, like I found myself, spending my time actively looking for work to pay our creative person. Like it made no sense. And it was completely ego driven. And once we took the ego aside and started really crunching the numbers, and we sort of, laid that person off and started, contracting out, it was like, boom, like all of a sudden our numbers were looking so much better and everything was making more sense. And everything was so much easier. And we weren't doing a bunch of make work projects to just keep this person busy. Like it just didn't make sense for us. Right. And so, It's this is a meaty topic, and I'm really excited to jump in for the next 11 episodes to cover every aspect of it.
It's true. And you mentioned the digital marketing blueprint. And I just want to tell listeners, especially current clients, if you have not heard us kind of trumpet the digital marketing blueprint, it is time. So reach out to us, because I think it's so beneficial. And we have such a great client mix right now that have started with a digital marketing blueprint, and just the results they're seeing with an in-house and an agency team are so amazing. So I look forward to
final thought, teaser for the next 12 episodes. Should you hire in-house versus an agency? Probably a little bit of both.
Oh, there you go. So you don't even have to listen to the rest if you need to know. Oh, awesome.
Bye.